Some places on Earth were never meant to be easy. Not shaped for cities, not built for comfort, and never designed to be understood at first glance. And yet people found a way to stay. Across frozen lakes that hold the memory of millions of years. Through valleys where seasons decide how life moves. Along coastlines where stone rises straight from the sea. And in deserts where silence stretches farther than the eye can follow. These are not just destinations. They are places where the land still sets the rules, and where every step is shaped by something older, quieter, and far more patient than we are. Lake Baikal, Siberia, Russia. At the heart of Siberia, Lake Baikal embodies the timeless connection between nature and endurance, standing as a symbol of the resilience that defines Russia. Sparkling under the clear blue sky, this crescent-shaped lake stretches for nearly 400 miles, which is about 640 kilometers, with shores lined by ancient cedar trees and towering cliffs that plunge deep into water so crystal clear that stones remain visible even at depths reaching 130 feet, meaning nearly 40 meters. Lake Baikal is not only the world's deepest and oldest freshwater lake, estimated at over 25 million years, but also holds about 1/5 of the planet's unfrozen freshwater supply. For generations, its mystical aura has inspired legends among the local Buryat people, fostering a deep sense of reverence, wonder, and spiritual belonging. Despite the serenity of its icy surface in winter, life teems beneath, contrasting the harsh exterior with extraordinary biodiversity, including the unique Baikal seal found nowhere else on Earth. As we reflect on Lake Baikal's enduring legacy, its tranquil expanse invites us to consider the delicate balance between cultural heritage and natural preservation. Shirakawa-go sits in a mountain basin where the Shokawa River bends through the green interior of Honshu. The valley feels sheltered, with weather and seasons setting the pace of daily life. In Shirakawa-go, Gifu, Japan, the village lanes pass between gardens, storehouses, and working fields, all framed by forested slopes. Even with visitors nearby, the rhythm of farm tasks and household routines remains easy to notice. For centuries, winter isolation encouraged self-reliance, and households organized their spaces for food, fuel, and craft. Many families once raised silkworms, and upper floors were shaped to hold trays and warm air when the cold settled in. The Wada House, one of the largest traditional homes here, offers a plain-spoken look at that older economy. Timber beams darkened by hearth smoke show how long the architecture has carried heat, work, and memory. Walking to a hillside viewpoint, the village appears as a compact pattern of roofs and rice plots, edged by river stones and narrow roads. In spring and summer, irrigation channels and paddy water add a quiet shine to the scene. Local preservation is practical as much as it is historical, from careful repairs to seasonal thatching. Community workdays still matter because the buildings demand hands-on knowledge, not just admiration. Most distinctive of all are the Gasho-zukuri farmhouses, their steep thatched roofs pitched like folded hands to shed the region's heavy snow. In the hush of winter, that angled straw silhouette is what stays in the mind. Rui Bridge settles into the green folds of eastern China's mountains, where stone ridgelines and mist often share the same horizon. Rui Bridge, Zhejiang, China, is part of the Shenxianju Scenic Area, known for its sculpted peaks and deep, wooded valleys. From a distance, the walkway reads like a thin ribbon drawn across open air, more graceful than imposing. Up close, its lines reveal a modern structure shaped to echo the traditional Rui motif, a symbol long used in Chinese art and ornament. The bridge is made as a set of intersecting spans, so the path can feel like a gentle loop rather than a straight crossing. Underfoot, sections of glass open a clear view down to the gorge, while railings and cables keep the experience measured and steady. Around it, Zhejiang's mountain parks give way to river towns, tea-covered slopes, and quiet stone steps worn smooth by tourism and local life. Even within one province, the landscape shifts quickly from humid lowlands to cliff-edge viewpoints. What lingers here is the bridge's interlaced, Rui-shaped curves, crossing each other in mid-air, while glass panels hold the valley in view beneath. Arashiyama Bamboo Grove feels like a narrow corridor of green on Kyoto's western edge, where footpaths thread between towering stalks and the city's noise fades to a hush. In Arashiyama Bamboo Grove, Kyoto, Japan, the light arrives in thin bands, filtered through leaves that flicker with each passing breeze. The air often carries a clean, vegetal scent, especially after rain. Season shifts change the experience without changing the grove itself. Spring brings soft brightness, summer deep shade, an autumn color on the slopes, and winter's spare, pale calm. Early morning is quieter, while afternoons bring a gentle current of visitors. A short ride away, the Sagano Scenic Railway traces the Hozugawa River Gorge, showing another side of Kyoto's landscape, water, rock, and forest packed tightly together. Back in Arashiyama, the bamboo path returns to its simple geometry. What lingers most here is the sound. Bamboo trunks lightly tapping and rubbing as they sway, a dry wooden clatter that seems to travel down the whole grove. Halong Bay feels unhurried at daybreak when a thin mist drifts low over the water and the shoreline stays quiet. In Halong Bay, Quang Ninh, Vietnam, the sea meets stone in thousands of small, steep shapes. From the decks of local boats, the bay opens as a maze of channels and sheltered coves with fishing vessels moving at a measured pace. Even the soundscape is soft, water against hulls, distant voices, and the occasional call of a seabird. Many visitors set out from Ha Long City, then glide past limestone islets that change character with every turn of the tide. Light shifts quickly here, and the same cliff can look grey, green, or honey-colored within minutes. Some islands hold hidden spaces, caves where stalactites gather like slow architecture, and chambers that briefly amplify footsteps and whispers. Others support pockets of greenery that cling to cracks in the rock, hardy and wind-shaped. Away from the main routes, floating hamlets hint at older routines, with small boats ferrying supplies and nets drying in the sun. The bay's calm water often functions as both road and front yard. On clear afternoons, the horizon breaks into countless silhouettes, each one distinct but part of the same geologic story. It's a landscape that rewards patience more than speed. What stays with you is the field of limestone cast pillars, sharp, weathered towers standing close together above green water, casting narrow bands of shade that move quietly with the sun. Huacachina sits like a quiet pause in Peru's southern desert, where sand and sky soften into the same pale horizon. In Huacachina, Ica, Peru, a small resort village curls around an oasis, just minutes from the regional hub of Ica and its vineyards and pisco traditions. The dunes are the main stage here, sculpted by steady winds into ridges and bowls that shift from one season to the next, especially in late afternoon light. Travelers come for sandboarding and dune buggy rides, but even a slow walk along the crests feels expansive and unhurried. Nearby, the desert geography connects naturally to other landscapes of Peru's coast, from the wildlife-rich shores of Paracas to the vast, arid plains stretching toward Nazca. The region's dryness preserves sharp edges and long views with very little vegetation to interrupt them. It's usually easy to find reasonably priced hotels and guest houses around the oasis, and many offer reliable Wi-Fi for planning day trips. Local taxis and tour desks in town handle simple transfers from Ica without much waiting. When the wind calms, Huacachina's most distinctive feature becomes unmistakable: a single green lagoon reflecting palm fronds, held in place by a complete ring of steep, golden dunes. Hengifoss sits in a quiet fold of eastern Iceland, where water and stone share the same long memory. In Hengifoss, eastern region Iceland, the air often carries a cool, clean edge even in summer. The walk-in follows a well-marked trail from the valley near Lagafjord, with steady climbs and long views back toward the river plain. Along the way, Litlanesfoss adds a short detour, framed by neat columns of basalt that look carefully arranged, though they're entirely natural. At the main falls, the stream drops in a narrow sheet, and the cliff face reads like a geologic timeline. Dark basalt layers stack like pages, interrupted by thin seams of rust-red sediment laid down between ancient lava flows. Eastern Iceland rewards unhurried driving through the fjords and upland roads, far from the talk of world-dangerous roads and closer to simple, open horizons. On clear days, you can sense how glaciers and volcanoes shaped the land in alternating turns. For travelers, Ingolstadir is a practical base, with straightforward guest houses and groceries for day hikes. Mobile service is generally reliable on main routes, and many cafes offer dependable Wi-Fi for checking weather updates. When the spray drifts and the sound settles into a steady hush, what stays with you is the cliff itself, those precise red bands cutting through black basalt behind the falling water. Mendenhall Glacier sits just beyond Juneau, where the forested edges of Tongass National Forest meet a wide, silty lake. Even from the first overlook, the ice reads like a slow-moving archive, layered, creased, and quietly bright. At Mendenhall Glacier, Alaska, United States, the glacier's tongue stretches down from the Juneau icefield toward Mendenhall Lake. On clear days, mountains frame the scene in clean lines, while low clouds soften everything into muted grays and greens. A short walk leads to viewpoints and trails that thread through spruce and hemlock, with chances to spot salmon in Steep Creek when the run is on. Farther along, Nugget Falls drops in a broad white sheet, its spray drifting across the rocks near the water's edge. Travel is straightforward. Most visitors stay in Juneau, where you can usually find comfortable, good-value rooms without needing anything fancy. Cell service is generally reliable in town, and many cafes offer dependable Wi-Fi for checking trail updates and weather. What lingers here is the lake itself, dotted with freshly carved ice. Small, pale blue bergs that rotate gently and click against one another as they drift away from the glacier's face. El Chiflon Waterfalls sits in a green river corridor where the San Vicente River steps down through Chiapas, turning sunlight into shifting bands of turquoise and white. At El Chiflon Waterfalls, Chiapas, Mexico, a shaded trail follows the water past smaller cascades before the sound thickens and the spray begins to cool your face. The path is well kept, with stone steps and railings in steep stretches and lookout points that let you pause without hurrying the climb. In the dry season, the water often runs clearer, while the rainy months can bring a broader, heavier flow. Between viewpoints, the forest closes in with palms, vines, and birdsong, and the air carries the clean, mineral scent of moving water. A light poncho and sturdy shoes help more than anything when the mist drifts across the walkway. Many visitors base themselves in nearby Comitán de Domínguez, where it's easy to find simple guest houses and dependable meals after a day on the trail. Mobile coverage varies in the gorge, but a local SIM or eSIM usually makes maps and messages work smoothly in town, and most hotels offer basic Wi-Fi. What stays with you is Velo de Novaya, a long, bright curtain of water fanning over pale rock, throwing a constant cloud of fine mist across the overlook. Mount Roraima sits at the edge of Venezuela's Gran Sabana, a massive tabletop of stone that seems set apart from the grasslands below. In Mount Roraima, Canaima National Park, Venezuela, scale is measured in cliffs, cloud, and time. The journey begins on savanna trails where marish palms gather around streams and red earth stains boots and riverbeds. Overhead, the light changes quickly, shifting from sharp sun to a soft, gray veil. Approaching the base, the Tepui's walls look almost vertical, streaked with dark water lines and patches of moss. A narrow natural ramp, locals call it La Rampa, offers the most practical route toward the summit. Along the way, Canaima's rivers braid through forests and open plains, feeding waterfalls that appear and vanish in the mist. It's one of Venezuela's unseen places, where distance still shapes what a traveler can know. Higher up, the air cools and the ground turns to bare rock, broken into ledges and shallow basins. Carnivorous plants and small orchids cling to cracks that hold just enough moisture to last. At the top, the defining detail is the black, weathered stone pavement, dotted with tea-colored pools, each one reflecting a strip of moving cloud. Monet's Pond sits quietly at the edge of a small shrine in rural Japan, looking less like a landmark and more like a private moment of light and water. Known as Monet's Pond, Gifu, Japan, it has earned its nickname through simple, natural conditions rather than design. Fed by clear spring water, the pond stays remarkably transparent, revealing pebbles and drifting leaves beneath the surface. Koi glide through the frame like slow brushstrokes, while water lilies scatter across the top in shifting clusters. Reaching this corner of Gifu Prefecture often means leaving highways behind and following local routes through rice fields and low forest. After rain, some turns can feel like dangerous roads, so unhurried daylight travel tends to suit the area best. In nearby towns such as Seki or Gifu City, you can usually find straightforward guest houses and business hotels without straying far from train lines. Mobile coverage is generally reliable, and cafe Wi-Fi can help with maps if your signal dips in the hills. The pond changes with the seasons. Fresh green in spring, dense shade in summer, and clearer sightlines as autumn thins the trees. Even in winter, the water keeps its calm clarity, turning reflections into a quiet study of sky and branches. Western Ghats form a long, rain-washed backbone along India's southwestern edge, where the land tilts toward the Arabian Sea, and the air carries a steady scent of wet leaf and spice. In Western Ghats, southwestern coast India, ancient rock and deep valleys hold some of the subcontinent's richest wildlife corridors, linking forested slopes to tea country and pepper gardens. In the Nilgiris and around Silent Valley, patches of shola forest sit in cool folds between open grasslands, sheltering orchids, rare frogs, and birds that keep to the dim understory. Farther south, the Periyar and Anamalai landscapes mix bamboo stands, river bends, and worn elephant paths, while seasonal streams thread downhill toward backwaters and coastal plains. For travelers, it's usually easy to find simple, good-value guest houses in hill towns and park edge villages, and local shops can set you up with a SIM. Wi-Fi is common, though it can fade in the higher ranges. In Kodagu and the high plateaus of Maharashtra, viewpoints open onto layered ridgelines, and old fort paths and temple steps reveal how closely people have lived with these slopes. Tunnel of Love looks less like a landmark and more like a living corridor, shaped slowly by time and routine. In northwestern Ukraine, it sits where rails and forest have learned to share the same space. At Tunnel of Love, Cleven, Ukraine, a narrow industrial track still runs through a dense canopy of hornbeam, oak, and maple. Trains pass in frequently, and between them, the leaves knit the light into a soft green hush. Cleven itself is a small settlement in Rivne Oblast, not far from the wide fields and wetlands of Polisia. In nearby Rivne, the pace is modest, with parks, markets, and everyday streets that make the forested edge feel even more immediate. Across Ukraine, the landscapes shift quickly, from the Carpathian forests and mountain meadows to the open steppe of the south and the long curve of the Black Sea coast near Odessa. Here, by contrast, the world narrows to one track and a few meters of shade. Visitors often arrive on foot, listening for the distant metallic note that confirms these rails are still working rails. A camera can capture the shape, but not the cool, filtered air under the leaves. What stays with you is the tunnel itself, a continuous arch of interlaced branches and summer foliage, forming a near-perfect green vault over the straight railway line. Gullfoss sits on Iceland's Vita River, where glacial meltwater from Langjökull gathers speed across the highland edge. The air often carries a cool, clean spray long before the falls come into view. At Gullfoss Golden Circle, Iceland, the landscape feels both open and deliberate. Low moss, dark basalt, and a wide sky that changes by the minute. Even on a bright day, the light can turn silvery as mist drifts across the path. Boardwalks and viewing platforms trace the rim, offering angles that shift with each step. From one point, the water seems broad and orderly. From another, it becomes a braided, churning surface that never quite repeats itself. Not far away, the geothermal fields at Geyser breathe in short bursts and long sighs, and Thingvellir Rift Valley shows where the ground has slowly pulled apart. Together, these sites outline the forces that keep Iceland in motion. Weather is part of the visit. Wind off the interior, sudden rain, and sunlight that can arrive between clouds without warning. On those brief, clear intervals, faint rainbows sometimes hold in the spray above the river. What stays with you is the double drop. The river first folds over a broad ledge, then slips again into a narrow, shadowed basalt canyon where the lower fall is partly hidden from the rim. Krabi settles along Thailand's Andaman coast, where daily life moves between fishing piers, long-tail boats, and a horizon cut into islands. In Krabi southern region, Thailand, sea and stone shape nearly every view. Ao Nang offers an easy shoreline to watch the tide work in and out, while nearby Railay is reached only by water, keeping roads and engines at a distance. At dusk, the sand cools quickly as the last boats idle back towards shore. Across the bay, Phra Nang Cave Beach blends pale sand with a shallow, clear edge ideal for slow wading. The cave's overhang throws a broad patch of shade, and the air carries salt, smoke from food stalls, and wet limestone. Inland, Wat Tum Swea, Tiger Cave Temple, climbs into quiet views over palms and limestone outcrops, at each step tightening the sound of wind and birds. Farther south, Thungteo Forest Natural Park shelters the Emerald Pool, where mineral-rich water holds a glassy green in the heat. Mangroves at Aothalani fold into narrow channels that turn with the current, a calm place for paddling past roots and mudflats. Offshore, the islands of Ko Fifi and Ko Lanta add sheltered coves and reefs, brightening the water with shifting blues. What lingers most in Krabi is the limestone, steep, pocketed cliffs that stand inches from the tide, their warm grey faces catching soft light while the water slips quietly along the rock. Gates of Hell Darvaza gas crater sits in the wide, sand-colored emptiness of Turkmenistan, where roads thin out and the horizon feels unusually close. By day, the Karakum Desert looks spare and quiet, shaped by wind and distance. At the edge of the pit, the ground turns brittle and warm underfoot, and the air carries a faint mineral bite. The crater's rim is uneven, like a broken ring in the desert surface. From here, Turkmenistan stretches in stark contrasts, moving dunes, low scrub, and the occasional line of camel tracks. Far to the south, the Kopet Dag foothills hold a different palette, with rocky slopes and brief green seams after rare rains. In Ashgabat, pale stone buildings and broad avenues reflect an ordered, carefully designed capital. Eastward, and the ancient ruins at Merv and the monuments of Kunya Urgench keep time in brick, tile, and weathered geometry. At Gates of Hell Darvaza gas crater, Karakum Desert, Turkmenistan, the defining detail is simple: an open bowl of earth filled with continuous flame, glowing orange against the dark. Changi Airport feels less like a transit point and more like a carefully tended public space designed for people who arrive tired and leave restored. Here at Changi Airport, Changi, Singapore, the terminals move at an unhurried pace with clear sight lines, soft lighting, and gardens that break up the long concourses. In the butterfly garden, humid air carries the scent of flowers, while small wings flicker along shaded paths, an unexpected pocket of life behind security doors. Families drift toward rooftop pools and play areas, while business travelers find quiet corners that feel more like a library than a gatehold. Food courts and hawker-style stalls echo the city's everyday flavors, and the efficiency outside the airport continues on the MRT, linking the terminals to downtown Singapore with little friction. Munnar feels like a cool, green pause in the western Ghats of southern India. In Munnar, Kerala, India, the air often carries the clean scent of eucalyptus and damp earth. Hairpin roads lead past valleys quilted with plantations, where small towns sit among steep slopes. Morning light tends to arrive softly here, filtered by mist and cloud. Eraviculum National Park, grasslands and Shola Forest share the high ridgelines, and Nilgiri Tar move with quiet assurance across rocky folds. On clear days, Anamudi, India's highest peak, shows its broad, dark outline. Matupeti Dam gathers the hills into a calm reservoir, edged by trees and occasional bird calls. Not far away, the Tata Tea Museum traces how leaf, labor, and weather shaped a regional identity. Hitch. Cano Cristales flows through the Serranía de la Macarena, a meeting point of river, savanna, and ancient rock in central Colombia. In the wet season, it runs fast and clear, and in the drier months, it reveals a more intricate character. Here, smooth stone channels the water into basins and narrow chutes, with small falls that sound louder than they look. Pools turn glassy for a moment, then break into ripples over pale sandstone. The wider region around Cano Cristales Meta Colombia holds other quiet wonders. The open plains of the Llanos stretch east with grazing lands and big skies, while the Macarena Range gathers forested slopes and hidden streams. Monkeys, birds, and butterflies appear at the edges of the trail, then disappear into shade. Access is closely managed, and timing matters more than distance. When water levels and sunlight align, the river becomes an outdoor gallery of color, framed by coarse rock and low vegetation. Calbuco volcano sits quietly above Chile's Lake District, its slopes often wrapped in shifting cloud and southern light. The view feels close to the sea and close to the forest at the same time. In Calbuco volcano, Los Lagos, Chile, the landscape is stitched together by water and fire-shaped ground. Around Lake Yanquihahu and the town of Puerto Varas, calm shorelines meet a horizon that keeps returning to the same dark cone. Inside Vicente Pérez Rosales National Park, green temperate rainforest gathers moisture from constant weather and turns it into moss, ferns, and dripping bark. Trails and river corridors carry the sound of water moving downhill toward Reloncaví Sound. Oya sits at the northern tip of Santorini, where whitewashed homes and small chapels follow the curve of the volcanic caldera. Light moves slowly here, shifting from cool morning blues to a soft, late-day gold. Known on maps as Oia, Santorini, Greece, too, the village feels carefully composed, yet it remains a working place, with bakeries, fishermen's boats, and narrow lanes polished by decades of footsteps. Even quiet corners carry the scent of sea salt and warm stone. The island's history is never far away, from the dark volcanic rock underfoot to the broader story of the Cyclades within Greece. Farther south, the excavated site of NexraTV hints at an older Santorini, preserved under ash like a held breath. Above the waterline, terraces double as pathways, patios, and viewpoints, their edges outlined by low walls and potted geraniums. Blue domes appear in brief intervals, framed by stairways that curve out of sight. Life here keeps time with the Aegean, ferries arriving, church bells marking the hour, and tavernas serving fava, capers, and tomatoes grown in stubborn volcanic soil. In nearby Fira and Imerovigli, the same cliff-hugging architecture continues in a long, bright ribbon. And when evening settles, Oia's most distinctive feature becomes unmistakable. Tiers of whitewashed houses set directly into the caldera cliff, stacked like steps above the dark water. Tassili and Ager stretches across a high sandstone plateau where the Sahara feels unexpectedly textured and intimate. In Tassili and Ager, Sahara Desert, Algeria, wind and time have shaped corridors, arches, and shadowed alcoves in the rock. From the oasis town of Janet, Tracks lead toward the park's labyrinth of stone, where dawn light moves slowly across tawny walls. The air is spare, and every footstep sounds close in the silence. Along the Tadrat and Tin Akachaka areas, sculpted pillars and natural bridges appear and vanish between dunes. Narrow passages open into small amphitheaters of rock, cool enough to pause and listen. After rare rains, gueltas, seasonal pools held in shallow basins, collect beneath overhangs and in shaded gullies. These brief waters draw birds, insects, and the careful attention of travelers. Here and there, hardy Saharan cypress and desert shrubs cling to cracks that catch a little moisture. Their presence hints at older climates that once moved more freely across southern Algeria. But the most lasting record is not botanical or geological. It is human. In sheltered walls and stone galleries, Tassili's rock art preserves precise figures of cattle, hunters, and daily life etched into the sandstone's quiet shade. Everglades National Park stretches across the southern tip of Florida, in a landscape where land and water overlap so completely that boundaries feel optional. The air carries a mix of sun-warmed sawgrass, mud, and salt drifting in from nearby bays. In Everglades National Park, Florida, United States, the day often begins quietly along the Anhinga Trail, where alligators hold still beside the boardwalk and turtles stack on fallen logs. Wading birds hunt with measured steps, their reflections interrupted by passing ripples. Farther west, the Gulf Coast waterways thread through mangrove tunnels that muffle wind and soften sound. Here, roots braid into the water like dark latticework, sheltering young fish and the occasional manatee moving with unhurried weight. At Shark Valley, a long, straight canal and open prairie make wildlife easier to see. Herons, egrets, and broad-winged vultures turning above the grass. In the dry season, the ground tightens and concentrates life around remaining pools. Down near Flamingo, the horizon widens into Florida Bay, where brackish flats shift color with cloud cover and tide. Evenings settle into a low chorus of insects and distant bird calls. What lingers most is the park's slow, shallow sheet of fresh water sliding south, an almost level river of grass that moves so gently it can be hard to notice at all. Thor's Well sits at the edge of the Pacific along a rocky shelf, a natural opening that seems both ordinary and uncanny at once. You'll find it at Thor's Well, Oregon, United States, within the Cape Perpetua Scenic Area. Here, the Oregon coast is made of ancient basalt, dark and pitted from lava and time. Tide pools gather in its low pockets, and salt spray keeps everything slick underfoot. The well is not a man-made shaft, but a collapsed sea cave where the roof gave way. Water enters through cracks and tunnels below, shaped by steady hydraulic pressure and abrasion. At certain tides, waves push inland and the opening fills fast, then drains just as quickly. The motion can look like a shoreline breathing, timed to the ocean's pulse rather than the wind. Just above, spruce and hemlock from the Shuslar National Forest lean toward the light, while lichens cling to exposed rock. Even on bright days, the air keeps that cool, mineral edge common to this part of the Haida planet. Visitors often pause on the safe, higher stone to watch patterns repeat and change, foam, then clear green, then a sudden dark swirl. The scene rewards patience more than speed. What sets Thor's well apart is the precise moment seawater funnels into a circular sinkhole and vanishes through the basalt, as if poured into the earth. Bay of Fundy sits between forested headlands and working harbours on Canada's Atlantic edge, where daily life follows the pull of the sea. Its coastline feels both intimate and immense, shaped by time, weather, and salt. In Bay of Fundy, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, Canada, communities have long adapted to a shoreline that changes hour by hour. Wharf pilings, clam flats, and red-brown mud tell the same story. Here, the ocean is never quite finished. Along New Brunswick's Fundy National Park, spruce and maple lean toward coves that open onto pebble beaches and tidal pools. Nearby, Hopewell Rocks stands like a natural sculpture garden, with pillars of sandstone narrowed by waves and widened by wind. Across the water in Nova Scotia, Cape Splits Trail leads to cliffs overlooking the Minas Basin, where currents braid and unbraid around sandbars. Farther north, the Joggins Fossil Cliffs preserve Coal Age forests in layered stone, a record exposed by constant erosion. The roads that trace these shores can feel like extreme roads in miniature. Tight turns, sudden fog, and long stretches of empty spruce, yet they always return to water. Even small villages keep an eye on tide tables as carefully as on the weather. What sets the Bay of Fundy apart is the tide itself, a vertical swing that can exceed 40 feet, leaving boats resting on mud at low water and floating beside the same wharf a few hours later. Eye of the Earth, Satina River Spring sits quietly in the limestone uplands, where Dalmatia shifts from coastal stone to open pasture. At Eye of the Earth, Satina River Spring, Dalmatia, Croatia, the Satina begins as a clear pool edged by grass and pale rock. Fed by the Dinaric karst, the water filters through cracked limestone and emerges cold and steady, even when summer heat settles over the fields. Small ripples carry the story outward, from a near-silent source to a working river. Up close, the surface reads like glass, revealing layers of stone and vegetation suspended in the blue. Dragonflies hover above the shallows, while the deeper center holds its color, a tone that seems to absorb the daylight. Downstream, the Cetina threads towards Sinj and the Canyon country. It then continues on to the Adriatic near Omish, shaping cliffs, villages, and pockets of shade. Here, though, everything feels measured, as if the landscape is listening. Croatia offers many water worlds: Krka's terraced cascades, Plitvic's linked lakes, and the clear coves around Split. But this spring is different in temperament. It is not a spectacle of motion, it is a study in origin. What stays with you is the spring's dark, eye-shaped opening, a near-perfect oval of deep blue set into white limestone, its depth turning the water from transparent to ink. Benagil's Sea Cave sits quietly along Portugal's southern shore, where the Atlantic meets a line of honey-colored limestone. Known locally by the nearby fishing hamlet of Benagil, it's a landmark shaped more by patience than spectacle. Benagil's Sea Cave, Algarve, Portugal, is reached by water, and the approach matters. Low cliffs, clear swells, and the steady sound of waves working at the rock. Boats, kayaks, and guided swims all follow the same narrow openings at sea level. Inside, the temperature drops a little, and the air carries salt and damp stone. The chamber feels unexpectedly broad, like a small cathedral hollowed by erosion, with scalloped walls that show layers from older coastlines. Along the Algarve, similar limestone forms appear near Praia da Marinha and around Carvoeiro, where arches and grottos punctuate the shoreline. Farther east, the Ria Formosa lagoon system trades cliffs for barrier islands and calm channels. Portugal's coastal light is part of the experience, especially in the late morning when reflections brighten the cave's interior. Even the sand here seems paler, washed clean by each tide and sheltered from wind. What sets Benagil apart is the round skylight in its ceiling, an opening that drops a clean column of daylight onto the sand as the water darkens beneath it. Lake Tekapo sits in the wide Mackenzie Basin, where open tussock country meets the first folds of the Southern Alps. Its shoreline feels spacious, with long views that make even small sounds carry. In Lake Tekapo, South Island, New Zealand, glacial history shapes nearly everything you see. Streams from the high country deliver finely ground stone, and the basin gathers it into a calm, cold reservoir of light and color. Near the water, the Church of the Good Shepherd is built from local stone, set low against wind and sky. In early summer, stands of purple and pink lupins line parts of the shore, softening the volcanic grays and browns. Up on Mount John, an observatory watches some of the clearest night skies in the country. The Aoraki-Mackenzie Dark Sky Reserve protects the darkness, so constellations appear sharp, and the Milky Way shows its pale structure. Daylight brings a different kind of clarity: crisp air, dry hills, and distant snowfields toward Aoraki/Mount Cook National Park. Walking tracks trace the lake edge, passing boulders and low Mataguri scrub. What lingers most is the lake's distinctive milky turquoise water, colored by suspended glacial rock flour that turns sunlight into a cool, opaque glow. Abraham Lake sits along the Icefields Parkway in the Canadian Rockies, where wind, water, and stone share the same wide frame. Its name feels modest beside the scale of the landscape. Created by the Bighorn Dam, Abraham Lake, Alberta, Canada, stretches between pale limestone slopes and dark conifer stands, with Mount McKenna watching from the west. Even on calm days, the surface seems to hold a restless energy. Here, Chinook winds can sweep down the valley and comb the shoreline into patterns. Snow stripped from one bend, piled high in the next. Light shifts quickly, turning the water from steel to turquoise in a single passing cloud. Along the banks, sculpted ice shelves and gravel bars invite slow exploration, while the surrounding ridges offer lookouts into Banff and Jasper country. Farther north, the Columbia Icefield feeds rivers that continue this story of melt and motion. In winter, the lake becomes a natural gallery for photographers and hikers, though the wind can make it feel remote and sharp. Underfoot, the ice often sings softly with pressure and temperature changes. Most unforgettable are the frozen methane bubbles, white discs stacked like coins inside clear blue ice, suspended at different depths near the shore. They sit perfectly still, as if the lake has paused mid-breath. Geyser Lake sits quietly in a volcanic valley where the ground never feels entirely still. In Geyser Lake, Kamchatka, Russia, even the air carries a faint mineral edge, like warmed stone after rain. The lake is small, but its setting is expansive. Birch and willow on the margins, dark ridgelines beyond, and patches of steam drifting from nearby vents. Access is limited, and that isolation keeps the landscape spare and clean. Kamchatka is part of Russia's Far East, a region shaped by fire and winter in equal measure. Not far away, the Valley of Geysers and the Kronotsky Nature Reserve hold some of the country's most active geothermal ground. Here, sound comes in fragments: wind through grass, a distant rush of water, then the soft gurgle of heat moving underground. And the surface can look calm, yet it never quite settles into stillness. Many travelers think of Russia in terms of cities and rivers, but this peninsula holds unseen places where the planet's inner processes are visible at arm's length. Even on a clear day, the weather can change with little warning. The lake's color is an improbable turquoise, filtered through fine suspended minerals. At times, underwater eruptions stir the bottom and redraw the patterns like a slow, living map. What stays with you is the set of pale, concentric mineral rings on the lake bed, circles that appear, blur, and reform each time the hidden geysers pulse beneath the water. Tolantongo sits in a steep canyon where warm mineral water meets the dry highlands of central Mexico. In Tolantongo, Hidalgo, Mexico, the landscape feels both intimate and immense at once. A pale blue river threads between limestone walls, its temperature softened by hot springs that seep from the rock. Along the banks, the sound is constant: water sliding over stone, wind moving through sparse shrubs. Footpaths lead to the famous grutas, where steam gathers near the ceiling and droplets tap into shallow pools. Nearby, a narrow tunnel channels spring water into a dim passage, cool air mixing with sudden warmth. Above the river, the canyon opens into small shelves where visitors pause, soak, and watch sunlight shift across the cliff face, and the water's mineral content leaves pale traces, marking the route it takes downhill. Evenings in this part of Hidalgo arrive quickly, and the air can turn crisp while the springs stay steady. From the slopes, you can see how the canyon concentrates sound, light, and movement into one corridor. What stays with you most is the ladder of cliffside thermal pools, terraces of milky turquoise water built into the rock, each basin quietly overflowing into the next. Lake Natron sits in northern Tanzania's Rift Valley, where heat, wind, and minerals shape a landscape that feels carefully stripped down to essentials. In Lake Natron, Arusha, Tanzania, the shoreline is often more salt than sand, edged by shallow flats that crack into pale plates under the sun. To the south, Old Donyo Lengai, an active volcano on Tanzanian soil, adds to the lake's chemistry, feeding a basin already rich in soda and other dissolved salts. The water level changes quickly with seasons, leaving terraces of mineral crust and narrow channels that thread between mud islands. Walking here, you notice how sound carries in the open air, then drops away. Maasai herders live in the surrounding country, moving with livestock along the drier margins where fresh water is scarce and distance matters. Life clusters around what the land will allow. When conditions are right, the shallows become important breeding habitat for lesser flamingos, which favor these alkaline waters that keep many predators at bay. Most distinctive of all is the lake's color, a quiet, rust-red sheen from salt and microorganisms pooling along the edges like thin paint on stone.